This conference will
Jared?
now be recorded.
All set?
Recording.
Good evening. Chairman Perrin, the City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for June 8th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the meeting will not occur in person. There have been 4 options provided during this pandemic. Go to meeting, call in, watch online. That being said, members of the public are able to speak in favor or against the petition and will be taken to according to order on selection by Mr. Jared Alves. Moving right into continued business, ZB 2020-21 for variance, Catherine Flood, care of Emerson 100 Real Estate, LLC at 246.1 Market Street, Section 6.1.4 and Section 9.2.5, subsection 3. The applicant has requested a continuance to June 15th, 2020. Any comments or objections to that? If none, may I have a motion?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is the clerk, Sean Callahan. I'd like to make a motion on ZB 2020-21 for 246.1 Market Street to continue the public hearing of these variances to June 22nd, 2020.
May I have a second?
Second the motion.
Second the motion.
May I have a roll call?
Chairman Perrin,
Approve the continuance to June 15th.
Member
June
Peck,
22nd.
approve continuance. Member Callahan,
Approve continuance to June 22nd, 2020.
Member McCarthy,
Approve continuance to June 22nd.
Member Briere.
Approve continuance.
This matter has been continued. Moving on to continued business, ZB 2020-26 for variance, Peter Marlowe, care of Louis Gagnon, 776 Lakeview Ave, Section 5.1. Peter Marlowe has applied for special permit, site plan review, and variance approval on behalf of Louis Gagnon at 776 Lakeview Ave. The applicant is seeking to convert the second and third floor of AG Hardware Store into 10 residences. The property is a neighborhood business NB zoning district. The proposal requires special permit approval per section 12.1 subsection E and site plan review approval per section 11.4 from the planning board to create more than 3 dwellings per unit. Variance approval from the zoning board per section 5.1 to exceed the maximum FAR and for any other relief required of the Lowell zoning ordinance. Is the petitioner on tonight?
This is Jared Alves with DPD. I do not currently see Peter Marlowe on the line. I've just emailed him again the ways to participate, but we do have the petitioner for 915 Pearl Street, so we could potentially move to that item and then come back to Lakeview afterwards.
Very well. We'll table ZB 2020-26 for Mr. Marlowe until he participates in this forum. Moving on under new business, we have none. Moving on under other business, we have a minor modification request for 915
Chairman Perrin,
Pearl Street.
Sorry to interrupt. Peter Marlowe has just joined.
So strike the previous comments. We will move back to ZB 2020-26 for a variance with Mr. Peter Marlowe. Good evening, sir.
Can you hear me?
Good evening, Mr. Marlowe.
Good
We
evening.
certainly hear you. Please tell us
Okay.
a little bit about your project.
Okay, so it's been 2 weeks since our last meeting. And we met, I talked to the city engineer and I met with Joe Caddy out on the site this past Tuesday with Pat Flaherty, the civil engineer, and Anthony Naganga, the architect. And unfortunately, the plan came, he got it done, but we just got it done today at 2 o'clock. No, 12 o'clock. And I got it to Francesca Cheska, and she sent it to all her members and Joe Caddy. And I believe when I sat down with Pat Flaherty that we've met all the requirements of the questions that they were asking. When Joe Caddy was out there, we decided that we were going to extend the city sidewalk all the way down the length of Island Street until we could get to a proposed crosswalk that would go across, hit the two handicap spaces. And then we did some snow storage, we did the dumpster, and we ended up with 45 parking spaces with proposed area. We also talked to the stormwater team through Francesca, and we were able to find that we needed to have be able to absorb 1 hour in a 24-hour storm, a 5-year storm. So we've proposed 2 catch basins in the areas that are on the site plan. We did decide after meeting with Joe, going back and forth, we decided to put islands on Island Street with some planting and trees in that area. And we have an exit in and an exit out in 2 locations on that site plan. Before I go to the architectural changes, hopefully Anthony will be there here, but before I go to I'll just discuss the site plan with anybody that wants to. I got a little bit caught off guard. I am Peter Marlowe, 258 West Manchester Street, Lowell, Mass. I apologize for that. I was having a hard time getting on tonight.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. Do you anticipate the architect attending?
Pardon me?
Do you anticipate the architect attending this meeting, or?
Yes, I do. Yeah, Anthony is supposed
okay.
supposed to log on.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you want to?
Well, I will want to. I can address the architectural, if you'd like.
We can open up to public hearing in the board, and then if Anthony comes in, we'll give him that opportunity.
Okay. Okay.
Due to the circumstances around signing into meetings, we're all well aware of the change. So when we afford him that opportunity, in fairness.
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to be on till later.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that being said, I'd like to keep Mr. Marlowe's time on hold in anticipation of his architectural review. And I'd like to move forward to opening up to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dan?
Dan Peck here. Thank you again, Mr. Marlowe, for all the updates. I appreciate it. I don't have any comments at the moment, but I reserve the right to comment later if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Perfectly. Time has been readdressed at a later time. Moving on to Sean.
Thank you. Mr. Marlowe, thank you for providing the updated site plan that kind of addresses a lot of the issues that the city had brought up in their initial comments. My concern at the last meeting, again, was the layout of the apartments and the size of the units. And I understand. I kind of wanted to see if there was something else that could be done with regards to them as far as making larger units. And I also brought up the concerns about the fact that there was nothing in the original renderings that showed about laundry. And I do see in the new unit, the new renderings, there is a laundry room now
Yeah,
added on.
We
the
did
two.
laundry and we added closets to all the units.
Yeah.
And I also sent you a rendering of the units that we use to help people out with the drawers and the cabinets. Francesca said she sent it to you.
Yeah, we did get that. So thank you for sending those over as well.
Yep.
And you know, I mean, I like the concepts, especially with the closets. And I understand with the laundry unit added in, but now it's reducing one of the units down from 759 square feet, actually two units, one from 759 down to 589 and another one from 700 to 627. I mean, not really what I was hoping, what I was expecting. I mean, I think I was looking to possibly see if you can make bigger units on the other side of the building. And again, I'm just, it's not, I'm not saying this is fatal. I mean, I think this is going to be a great project and I think it's going to work. I just, like I said, I get leery when I'm starting to see units of very smaller sizes being stuffed in, and it's starting to get a little bit more concern for me now, especially with what we're going through with the COVID pandemic and you know, getting more people in more units, and we're looking to social distance now, and I don't know how that's going to end out in the future, but that's just my that's kind of been my concern in the past, and it's starting to get a little bit more concerning now. And again, I'm not criticizing or anything. I actually think it's, like I said, it's a great project. Like I said, I was hoping for bigger units as opposed to smaller units. Bigger units, even with a laundry room or with in-house laundry on each of the units, as opposed to the smaller units, and now even smaller units with a laundry room. I don't know if the architect, yep, Anthony, I do see it looking online. I think Anthony has jumped in now. I see he's available. I don't know if he wants to speak to that or, I mean.
Well, we certainly, Mr. Clerk, if you have questions direct to the architect, we can certainly
Yeah, I don't.
take care of that.
I think what I'm looking to find out, and at the last meeting, I was hoping to kind of see what could be done to adjust the units so that there are bigger units in size, but we come back and now we have new renderings with smaller units and a laundry room. And I'm just looking for how do we come up with that process instead of that's the best we can do.
Well, I know this comment came up, but the average one bedroom, okay, has decreased over the years.
Sorry, can you hear me?
They're ranging anywhere from, I wish Anthony was
Yes,
on here.
actually, I think he just tried to chime in. Mr.
Can you hear me now?
Gaga?
Yeah, sorry, I think I had the wrong link. I was waiting on maybe it might have been next week's meeting. I've been sitting there waiting. Sorry.
No problem.
It's okay. Could you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Yep.
And
so my name is Anthony Gaga.
for you.
Yep, I'm the architect for the project, Studio 26 Associates. We are located at 175 Cabot Street in Lowell. And if I guess the question is about the size of the units. And when we spoke last time, you know, you definitely mentioned about that. You also mentioned about the way the units were configured. And what I spent some time reconfiguring the layout so that I think if you look at the layout now, it definitely looks a little more regularized in terms of the shapes of the units, the shapes of the rooms. We made an effort to put at least one storage closet in each unit. And I'm also showing the built-in closet in each bedroom, the ones that Peter had mentioned before. Now, I definitely know that you talked about, you know, can we get bigger units? Can we, and maybe reduce the number? But I think also in terms of the economics, and we also talked about the kind of tenancy that Louis is not just targeting, but actually what he has next door. So this is a market that he best understands, and he's also trying to see if he can maximize the size. I think if you look, you see that the units are they're fairly comfortable. It's, you know, they're not really tiny. Again, I think that square footage for one bedroom is, and for where it's located, we feel that that's a good size, and also that it helps him maximize for the number of units that he can put in.
All right. No, all right. That's fine by me. I'm just trying to, for my own, no, from
Sure.
my own perspective, I just like I said, seeing smaller units. I don't know. I get a little leery with that. So
yeah, I think also we have seen sort of the trend towards more compact units. You know, we are not trying to go to, you know, like a unit that doesn't really have everything that it needs. And definitely, you know, we've also tried to accommodate the comments that you had in terms of providing laundry, a laundry unit, which is common for each floor. But, you know, I think we've also seen projects that definitely are much more squeezed than what we are providing. And, you know, it's not necessarily that's the way we're going. We just want to see if we can, I think the trend now is to move from the grand kind of, you know, accommodation that people are used to, and make it more compact and try and make it also affordable.
okay. No, thank you, Mr. Ngaga. I appreciate it. I hope I pronounced your name right again. I'm sorry if I didn't.
That's okay.
And I do actually. Now I'm looking at it again. I did mention at the last meeting when I was looking at the renderings, I saw the one unit, a one area unit, because these are going to mirror each other on both floors. Literally had a entry door going right into
a column.
Into a column.
Yes.
Yeah, and I see that you kind of fixed that. It looks
Yes.
like you fixed that,
Yes.
which was good too. Yeah, that was no. I understand. Listen, you gotta work with what you got, and I totally get that. I was just, you know, like I said, my concern was the size of the units, and I just want to make sure that everything's been explored, everything's been done, and it looks like, you know, you've done everything you can, and this is the best that is going to come out of it. And, you know, certainly I think it's going to be a great project. I wouldn't have any problems with it. I just wanted to make sure that all efforts were done to try to accommodate that. So no, but I can be in support of this, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Perrin, you may have been on mute a minute ago if you were referring to another member.
Oh, yeah. Next up would be Dennis.
Have a couple of questions, but I think the improvements in the plans go a long way to helping answer the comments. Not to nitpick here, Anthony, on your floor plans here, but I just would like to spend a minute on those if we could.
Yes.
The colored floor plan for the second and third floor plan shows a column in Unit 5 that doesn't have a column grid associated with it. And I'm just wondering, is that an oversight? Because the spans that we have at Unit 1 and I guess part of Unit 5 seem to be quite long. Is there another column line that should be there? And if it were the case, would these columns, if they were to be shown, start to interfere with the layout?
Let me just try and zoom in. And you talk about unit number 5?
Yeah, there's a small column. It seems to be indicating just to the lower right of the F in square foot, 624 square feet. Is that I believe that would be a column indication. I'm not sure.
Is that along column line E?
Along column line E, yes.
Yes, so there is a column. I think you can see a little dot there just around where the text is. There is a column there.
So
now going further up, are you asking whether there is another column up on column line F?
On column line C or B.
Or coming further down?
It doesn't seem like the column lines. So we have a column, it looks like in unit 3, between C and D on grid line 2.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But that doesn't follow your column lines D and C. So there seem to be columns kind of randomly showing up. Not showing up with delineated column grids.
Yeah. What I'm not sure, because I think this area is fairly open on the second floor, which I was able to access, and actually also I think on the third floor. And what I wasn't sure is you can see that some of the structure was put in afterwards, and there's some places with structural beams. And so what I'm not sure is why some places have a break and other places, you can almost see it's. I'm not sure that there is somewhere that, for example, around stair 1, whether that wall actually is a bearing wall or not. I can't tell at this point. And like I said the last time, I expect that I may have to refine this plan a little further once we go in there and clean out a lot of what's there and see what's behind some of the display that's already built in. So I expect that, I'm going to have to go and refine this plan, but whatever structure is there, we're going to have to respect it and try and make the units work.
So we're looking at this strictly as schematic. This isn't going to be built this way. This is strictly to give us an idea of how small the units are going to be, where the egress is going to be,
yes,
how the corridors are going to work. But most likely there's going to be modifications made to the layouts to accommodate structure.
Yes, to accommodate structure, to accommodate, there is some change of levels on the floor also. There's places where, it ramps up. There's places where there's a step coming up, especially if you come from stair 2, if you're walking towards stair 1. So we're going to have to deal with that. I expect some places either will infill, but we have to figure out whether somewhere along the corridor we are having either some steps or some ramps, or, how we deal with that.
Great.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because
Sure.
I agree with you. I don't think we have the structure really kind of resolved yet.
No, and also I think that the way the building was built, it wasn't built as one structure, and that's why the structural grid is not regular. I think it was, one section built and then an addition added after that, and then another addition added after that.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to move on to the egress plan. Sure. That really goes a long way to helping us resolve the door openings onto the sidewalks.
Okay.
So you recessed the entries.
Yes.
In both cases, which
yes.
creates a wonderful scenario now when the doors are opening. There's people walking on the sidewalks and no one's bumping into each other. So is that a foundation issue? I mean, there's a basement, I believe, in this building, correct?
Yes, there is a basement in this building. So if we look at, for example, the one at stair 1, which is around column line G.
Yep.
There is a small bump out there that exists, but I'm not sure that it exists down in the basement. So again, some of the structural things, I'm not sure exactly what we are going to find, because you can see the little dashed area there that we're proposing to remove. That's already existing now. And the reason we want to remove it, first of all, is to be able to recess the door, but also to be able to continue the sidewalk all the way along the face of this building on Island Street. So once we take that out, but this section, this bump out, I believe is only a single story, but I'm not sure that it goes down to the basement. So some of the stuff we do here, we are going to have to, once we strip out and see what's happening in terms of the structure, because even the stair that's there now, it's in that same location, but it's actually just a straight stair, but it's also very steep. So what I'm showing here with the winding stair is to try and minimize how much we are impacting the hardware store. But again, I think once we start opening this up, we may have to change a few of these things, and maybe it becomes more of an L stair or something like that.
But again,
I'd like to add to that, if possible, that the second floor of the store right now is a kitchen showroom. So that's why a lot of this was difficult to see exactly 100% what's in there on all these beams. Once we remove the showroom and we take out all the drywall and the ceilings, we'll be able to see more of what we have to adjust for or add beams to make this all come together.
Okay. And then I guess my main point, because these plans, I don't think have gone through the review that the initial set did with the city departments. So we don't have a transportation engineer, building department. We don't have the comments from the departments that reflect what we're looking at today. The comments that we have from the city reflect the original set.
Yes. I think on the original, when we got the first comments, I did change recess the doors. So if you look at the plans that we looked at last week, they actually have the entrances recessed, except that I think I was showing double doors then. When I talked with Louis afterwards, he said, let's try and make it as compact as possible so we're not impacting too much of the hardware store. But the recessed doors are there on the drawings that we were looking at last week, even though I know we didn't look at we didn't review it comprehensively.
Right, but I'm looking at the comments from the building department, and I think that they are still stating that they want to see the egress, resolved. In any event, these plans that we're looking at again are schematic in nature, and once you do the deep dive for the structural review, you'll be able to determine how best to approach these recesses.
Yes.
But again, I think that what we are approving tonight, or hoping to approve tonight, are schematic in nature.
Yes, I think the part of what the building department is going to review, I'm expecting that with a lot of refinement, some things may change, or some things will change, especially based on just the issue of the structure, like you mentioned. And if you look at the other entrance, the one that comes out on Lakeview Ave, on the sidewalk there, there again, we're just trying to solve the issue of having the door open out onto the side that faces the club, because I think that area there might actually belong to the club, and I think that was one of the other comments that the building department had.
Mm-hmm.
So again, what I'm showing there, I don't think we have access to that area. That's another place we need to open up, but I'm confident I think we can be able to get a door that comes out onto Lakeview Avenue, somewhere there.
Okay.
Yes. And again, I recessed it. I tried not to make it too deep again, just so we don't get a pocket that sort of becomes a little hidden.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm confident that you can solve this. So there'll be a way, I'm sure.
Thank you.
To do this that is relatively not too painful and cost effective.
I hope so too.
Okay. I'd like to move on to the site plan. Mr. Marlowe, are you going to be addressing the site plan for us tonight?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a number of comments that seem to be resolved. The sidewalk, as you mentioned, from Lakeview Ave goes up along the building and is extended down with curbing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then it stops, and we have a crosswalk that comes across to the end of an island. And what's this? What's the so the island that's indicated here stops rather than continues down to maybe incorporate the crosswalk. But I'm just wondering what's because it almost seems as though that by ending the island, you could potentially get a car to go through where the crosswalk is.
We could, if you want, we can address that. This is, Joe Katie wanted us to end it, and he wanted us to get the crosswalk as close to the end of 768 Lakeview Avenue. So that's why we drew it in that way. And because there's a set of stairs coming down the back, which is on the plans. And then we came across, we just wanted to give it a little more room. So you don't want to have cars going through there, in other words.
Absolutely not.
Right.
I think that we should
We can add a bollard. We could add a bollard there.
Okay. We'll add some kind of barrier to eliminate vehicular access. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that is, but some kind of barrier. Okay.
That's definitely workable.
And then the islands themselves, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees shown. Now, are the 5 trees what's required? Because you have a note up here on the site plan saying landscaping to comply with City of Lowell parking regulations and criteria. And I think it says something about the number of trees. 5% of the area is supposed to be landscaped, and the number of trees, I think, is 1 tree per 2,000 square feet of paved surface. And if you figure 400 square feet per parking space, that would be what? Every 5 cars, there's a tree. So
We, in the past, I've worked right with planning and development on this. Even coming down, we put a package together what trees the city likes to see, and that's usually what I do. I sit down with them and we go over each island and come up with a planting schedule, and that's what I've done in the past. And my projects always look good. I'm big on landscaping, and I wouldn't, I'm not going to skimp here either. These will look good. We'll dress these up nice.
Well, one of my, I noticed in the application that you're looking for a waiver for site plan. You're looking for a waiver for landscaping and lighting.
No, not anymore.
Okay.
Yep.
So what are you looking for waivers on?
I think we meet everything. She wrote that up. Francesca wrote it up that way, but we've solved all the problems with this new plan. We have the parking, we have the landscaping, we have the snow storage, the runoff stormwater, and the proposed dumpster location.
Yes, you do.
Yep.
Okay. Sort of. I mean, your landscaping plan, I don't believe, has 5% green space for the paved spaces. I don't think you have 1 tree per 2,000. So you don't have a few of the I's dotted and T's crossed according to the requirements.
Yep.
And so it's unclear then so you're saying that you will comply, and this landscaping plan is strictly schematic in nature and not complete, and is only a baseline showing intent of direction you're going in.
Correct.
Yes.
I will definitely work with planning and development on this. Yep.
And I will say the confidence that I have in the project being successful is based on your history. So I'm really glad that you're here representing this plan, because for someone else, I might not feel quite as comfortable.
Oh, I'll make you happy. Go take a look at West 3rd Street.
I know, it looks fabulous. Absolutely does. Yep. You don't show grading, and this is in a floodplain. And I think there might be some problems with puddles over here from time to time when we get heavy rains.
We will shoot the grades, but when we walked through with Joe the other day, we sort of walked over the whole development and we looked at, where the whole hot top's going to come up, and the whole driveway paving area is going to be regraded.
Okay, and would it be possible that you would actually be increasing green space? For instance, you have these labels called snow storage, but it doesn't indicate to me on this plan that those are on green space, landscaping, mulch, gravel, or pavement.
Yeah, they could be. definitely.
Okay. I would love them to be on something that's not hardscape, just so we have more infiltration.
So,
in that.
right, you'd rather see it than hardscape.
Yes.
Yep.
I'd like to see us have a site plan that indicates green space at least at the 5% required by the City of Lowell's zoning.
Okay.
All right.
Can we make that a condition?
Yes.
Thank you.
The last one I have is the gate that currently exists on Lakeview Ave near the, I think there's 72.2 dimension there for that lot length. So there's a set of gates that kind of are there currently in the fence.
That's an area that we keep going back and forth, and for the time being, we'd like to keep that secure, not do a curb cut and keep it for security. We'd like to keep it closed for security.
Today there currently is a curb cut there.
No, there is no. I thought Pat said there was no curb cut.
I just saw it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So because Lakeview Ave in that stretch tends to have a lot of traffic back up at the light, I just wonder if we're better off only accessing Island Street, and then you have a in and out at the top of the lot that goes into the City of Lowell lot. Is that right?
That passageway is the City of Lowell, yes.
Okay, so those are the two access flow zones for the traffic, for the car parking, for the two projects and the retail. All the car entry and exit points are in those two locations.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not 100% ideal because there's so many triangles and little pieces that have been added over the years. So we did the best with what we had to work with.
Oh, I'm sure as you dive into this more, it's going to again evolve as the schematic plan would to something more complete.
Yep.
But I think we need to, as a schematic plan, just be clear as to what we're approving as far as the access points for in and outs. And we're saying only in and outs that we're going to be approving right now are on Island Street and access to the City of Lowell lot.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that you're comfortable with that, and you just want to make sure that we are not going to be opening out onto Lakeview. Is that correct?
You know what? I just want to hear your story. If there's a overwhelming reason from a safety reason to have that gate accessed with the curb cut on Lakeview Ave, I'll listen to it. But my gut feel is that we're better off not doing it.
Okay.
We're better off keeping all the traffic flow off of Island Street and the two lots.
So, but I guess my question though is that you would be comfortable with us keeping it the way it is with the gate locked, and not use it.
Yes.
Or you're not saying that we need to do anything that has any more level of permanency.
I would just say that we're going to stick with this plan. If we're approving it tonight, we're approving it tonight without access onto Lakeview Ave.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You don't show any site lighting. At least I don't see.
Again, that was we talked about that tonight. Site lighting. What we've been doing in all of my buildings is putting LED wall packs on buildings that are adjacent to the lots, and that has given us more than enough lighting. In fact, at first we were using the wrong ones down on South Street, and the people over in the mills were begging us to shield them because they were too bright. So we found a LED wall pack that we can mount to the existing building, which would be now at the they would be mounted to the back of the 768 Lakeview Avenue building to light the parking lot.
I don't really see that being successful in spots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9. That end of it is really far away from that building.
Well, if we have to, then we can go under, since we're tearing it up anyways, we'll go underground and put a pole down at that triangle down at the end of the island.
Yeah, I think you probably have a spot there, and maybe even 26, 27, 28. Those spots there seem like they're really starting to be, more remote from the. I'm not sure what lighting exists off of that passageway. I didn't go over there at night to see what kind of spillage happens from adjacent sites, but we should be responsible on this site to adequately create a safe lighting plan for the parking. So I think we condition that we look at potentially adding lighting poles to alleviate any dark spots in the parking lot.
That's fine. I would agree with that.
Okay. All right. And then I think that pretty much, I guess the last one is signage. Is there any signage that we need to add here to create more safety regarding the pedestrian experience here? And are you indicating any signage? That was one of the comments that we had. I think it was a transportation engineer, maybe.
No, I don't think they made any comments on signage.
Let me go back to it. I thought I read that on item 9. Maybe. But you've done a wonderful job of responding to all of these comments for sure.
We tried, especially in the short time. I didn't realize how fast 2 weeks goes by.
It does. It sure does.
Oh,
These days.
entry and exit points, proposed parking, unclear of the site plan, the applicant must apply.
No, that's not the one that I saw it under. I'm sorry. Okay. Bear with me for a minute here, if you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine.
I guess item 12. So it says it's just mainly talking about the sidewalk that we're doing.
Yep.
We've taken care of that to ensure safe pedestrian access to the property. So I guess we're all set with that sidewalk. So, okay. I guess that was all that I was worried about.
Yeah, and there's already, there was already one, the city already has a sidewalk there with a curb. So that's where we've decided with Joe that we're just going to extend that all the way up.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right. I look forward to the project.
Thank you.
Wonderful work, and this building is only going to get better. So, and I think that the improvements you're going to make on that site for the landscaping and the lighting is going to go a long way to enhance that experience over there too. So that's all I had for comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification, Mr. McCarthy, you have 2 conditions for the clerk.
So we are going to work on the landscaping for sure. And I think we're going to make a condition there that we have no less than the 5% minimum requirement for a landscape area in the parking area. And then the second one was that we're going to look at adding up to 2 light poles to provide safe lighting for the parking, for the new parking.
Okay, thank you. That being said, Mr. Briere.
Mark Briere speaking. When we last met, I expressed concerns with number 12 of the DPD's memorandum, which refers to sidewalks and streetscape improvements. As I listened to Mr. Marlowe's opening comments, he addressed these concerns, and I heard that he has satisfied city engineers. I wholeheartedly support the project, and I believe it to be another great addition to Mr. Marlowe's very impressive portfolio in Centerville. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Briere. For the record, in absence last meeting, I have obliged myself an obligation to review the meeting and the minutes. Some of the concerns that I originally was looking to address, Mr. McCarthy has addressed. I appreciate the architectural comments this evening regarding the sketches as it relates to the columns, and further explaining that. And I am certainly not surprised, nor should, and I'm sure my colleagues aren't surprised, as the citizens of Lowell should not be surprised that Mr. Marlowe is going forward with another project in his beloved section of the city of Centerville, and he's ensuring the professionalism and ensuring that the comments all have been answered to the highest point, as well as accepting the conditions brought forth. So I do appreciate that as always. I'd like to also refer back to the board for any other comments or concerns and clarifications on conditions. Any members of the board wish to make any further comments?
Through Mr. Chairman, Mr. Clerk, Sean Callahan. I think I had one. I'm not sure. Maybe it came up or maybe it didn't. I don't know. But Mr. Marlowe, I think there was a comment by DPD about the signage in the rear of the property and what the intent is with that, with regards to that, the signage.
Right.
View of a dented guardrail,
General comments number 6.
number 6.
Yeah. I presume the signage wants to stay because of the business, but I guess we just want to get what the intent is.
Yeah, that is, just bear with me there for 1 second.
Sure, take your time.
General comments, engineering, say. Let's see. I can find everything but number 6. I apologize.
No worries.
So
What is
let me
it? What is
just
number
Maybe a,
6?
maybe a client has the answer to that. I mean, it's his business, it's his building.
yeah, let me just jump in briefly. This is Anthony.
Yep.
I'm not sure which sign they were talking about. There's one that's on the facade of the building, which I believe is gonna get removed because that's where we're gonna be putting the windows.
Correct.
Then
That's
there's
correct.
another one that's up on the roof, and I think that would probably just remain.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Ace Home Center sign is going, but the AG Hardware sign on the roof will stay.
Thank
Yes,
you,
and
Andy.
yeah, and
Sorry.
the signs also on the other facades on Lakeview and the corner of Lakeview and Island, those we are gonna affect them a little bit as well. Some of them may come back, but we're gonna look and see what the fascia looks like there, because again, it's too high now, and we're trying to put 2 windows for 2 floors right there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna affect some of that, but whatever we come up with, I'm assuming that we'll get them through review and approval as required.
Okay. No, I
Yes.
just saw that because they brought it up. I just wanted to bring that up and see what the intent was, the signage and the barbed
And
wire.
I'm assuming that that's the
I
one
don't know what
they
the reference is to the barbed wire on the bottom half of the building under the Ace Home Center sign there. I think that's what they were referring to. So that's going as well, I presume, right?
We haven't talked about that, to be honest. I think it's something we'll review with the owner and see what needs to happen.
Can I make a comment or?
Sure.
Yes.
The only reason it's there, years ago, we had problems with youngsters jumping on top of the roof, tearing the roof. We actually had someone set it on fire. We tried barbed wire and all kinds of different things, and we were suggested to put that. I'm certainly amenable to another suggestion that doesn't make it look like Starlock 13. I don't like it any more than anybody else does, but it did stop the problem. But you know, yeah, we're amenable to working with that.
Okay. Well, I guess what were they jumping up to try to get to the signage and signage, or like what else?
No,
is up
they were just jumping up on the roof, and they were cutting the roof. It's only a single story at that point, and then that it used to be a shop, but now it's a hardware department, and it was just getting all the merchandise wet and destroying things. And then one Saturday night, I went by and they lit the whole corner on fire. So we had done different things over the years to put, and the last thing that was suggested was that, and my brother Paul and I owned it at the time, and we both didn't like it, but it did stop the problem. But if there's something else that can be done, because I don't really see the kids in the neighborhood like they used to be anyway, but I wouldn't need something, but it doesn't have to be that.
Okay.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
It's amazing the few problems we have in construction today, because the kids will walk right by the project and all they're doing is looking on their phones. So we don't have problems on construction projects like we did years ago.
Yeah. They got more fun things on the phones than jumping on roofs and setting things on fire. All right. No, I was just curious about it because DPD did bring it up in the comments, and so that makes perfect sense. So that's fine. No other problems. I was just inquiring. Thank you.
Any other comments or concerns from any of the board members?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the elevations that were submitted, and they depict signage in a number of locations, but they don't depict the signage on the roof. And I thought I heard you say that you were keeping the signage on the roof. Is that correct?
Anthony, you want to address that?
Yeah. So the elevations that I developed and submitted doesn't show any of the signage that we have. If you want, at the point when we develop this furthermore, I can show the signage that's going to remain. The only thing that I had shown there was, the signage that's up at the front that I mentioned, that's on the corner. Some of it is on Lakeview and the other one is on Island. I think, I'm not sure what I'm showing there, but I'm assuming that may have to change the size of it. But also, if you look, you'll see on the Lakeview Avenue elevation, we were proposing to do a bigger signage there now that we're going to lose some of what's up on the facade.
I guess you submitted the drawings indicating signage, but you're saying that that's not necessarily what the intent of the drawing is. It's not illustrating the signage that's going to be. Go ahead.
What I want to say is that the signage that I focused on was more on the Lakeview Avenue side. And I think you can see what we're proposing. I think a bigger signage on the brick facade wall on the street, at the street level. But anything that's up above, there's nothing that I was able to depict accurately in terms of signage. Definitely not the one that we just spoke about. That's on the back side, on that side with the barbed wire. There's probably other things that I will probably end up showing a little better, like the communication towers that are up on the building, if you want me to show that. Although we are not proposing to change anything there. I think that there is a long-term lease on that stuff.
I don't want to make things more complicated. I just noticed that we were talking about saving signage, and then the elevations don't indicate it. And so what we're saying is that the elevations aren't necessarily indicating the intent of signage. I think.
Well, my thought though is I think, most of the time, especially with signage, because, it gets to be an approval on its own, right. My thought is that when we get to that part, then we would just make an application for the signage that either we want to change, or if what's remaining needs to be reapproved, then we would do that.
And most likely you will be changing some of it because, as you said,
Yes.
that it's in the middle of windows, and so you'll have to be revisiting signage anyway. So it'll be coming for another application, maybe for signage at a later point.
Yes.
I think the thing. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep. And then again, also the other thing is, because we don't know yet the extent. Once we start stripping out the metal panels, and I don't know how much we're going to be affecting on, if at all we're going to be touching the roof. Then all that is going to come into play. Either we're going to be removing stuff and either replacing it, or putting it back. And I think some of the signage has been there for a while, so it may be a small project on its own.
I agree, and it's going to be developed based on what you have for existing conditions and how to work around them. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm sure you understand that sometimes a project sort of gets born out of an idea and just a concept that's just created really quickly, because also we don't want to spend too much money from the owner without knowing that which way we want to develop the conversation together with you guys as well.
Okay. I think
does that answer you?
It does.
Okay.
It does. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments or concerns from any other board members? That being said, I seek a motion.
I just want to double check with the conditions, Mr. Marlowe, and that your client is in agreement with that. So first condition is we have an updated site plan showing site plan showing landscape with green space at least 5% minimum requirement of zoning. And the second is to work with DPD to add lighting poles on dark areas of the parking.
Agree.
Okay. And Jared, so the only vote we're taking is on the variance. That's it, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So with that, through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on ZB 2020-26 for 776 Lakeview Avenue for variance approval under section 5.1 to exceed maximum FAR with the previously mentioned conditions.
May I have a second?
Second by Mark Breer.
Thank you. May I have a roll call?
Chairman Perrin.
Approve with conditions.
Member Peck.
Approve with conditions.
Member Callahan.
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy.
Approve with conditions.
Member Briere.
Approve with conditions.
Gentlemen, you've been unanimously approved. We wish you the best of luck with your project over there and continued success within the city. Thanks for chiming in tonight.
Thank you very much.
Forward.
Thank you. We appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Pleasure. Take care. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Moving forward under new business, we have none. Moving forward under other business, we have a minor modification request for 9-15 Pearl Street. In 2015, Julio Rodriguez received a special permit approval to convert an existing auto repair establishment into 6-unit residential structures at 9-15 Pearl Street, located in the downtown mixed-use DMU zoning district. The applicant is now seeking to modify condition of approval number 7. No parking shall be allowed on site by including a 15-minute parking space next to the building for the residents' use. Mr. Rodriguez still with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, sir, if you mind telling us a little bit about your minor modification?
Yes, sir. On May 28th, we had the previous meeting and I showed a site plan of my parking, However, some of the members, they didn't agree with the size of the parking versus the size of the loan area. We decided that it was best to change that area. So we have now submitted a revised plan showing a 9 by 18 parking spot, and the rest of that will be green area. And we believe it's very important to have temporary parking in that area so that my tenants, so that they can have an area where they can safely load and unload groceries, and where they can be safely picked up if they have to go to doctor's appointments or anything of that nature.
Well, we appreciate that update, Mr. Rodriguez, for this minor modification. I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone wanting to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition, that portion of public hearing is now closed. I'd like to open up to the board. Sean?
Thank you, through Mr. Chairman. I recall at the last hearing, I mean, I didn't really see too many issues with granting this modification. I understand that at the time, some of my fellow board members had some concerns about getting additional information, which is why we asked Mr. Rodriguez to go back and provide us with an updated site plan. Thank you for providing that, Mr. Rodriguez. And I mean, I still don't see any issues with this. It seems to be a minor modification, and I think it could be granted. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Dennis?
Through Mr. Chairman, I am quite happy to see the updated site plan that limits the paved surface to only what's required for the parking space. It does seem to indicate a 3-foot dimension between the property line and the edge of the parking space, as required by zoning to have. I believe that's why that's there, but it's impossible for that 3 feet to add up. You only have 12 feet from the center line of the stair to the property line. 9 feet of that's going to be parking space. I'm guessing 1.5 feet at least is going to be for that stair egress beside the parking space. So what does that 3 feet indicate?
The surveyor believed that it was a requirement to have some kind of buffer, he called it, between the driveway and the street line, the city line.
Maybe Jared, if you could just clarify that, please. I don't see how that 3 feet adds up. It looks like someone threw a dimension on there, which isn't graphically. It's probably more like a foot, as the way it graphically is shown, or less.
So ordinarily, you are correct that there would be a 3-foot setback requirement. I think in the case of this potential parking space, because it's an area that had been used as parking or has grandfathered status, but you're correct that for a newly constructed parking space, you would need to show that you have the 3-foot setbacks from the building and from the lot line.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, so just to be clear then, Jared, you're saying that because it's an existing paved surface, we're grandfathered in maybe and not required to have the 3-foot requirement for that buffer?
That's correct, because it was used as parking in the past. And so I think that in this instance, that it's okay for the board to allow it not to have that 3-foot buffer. I mean, there are examples throughout the city of comparable spaces that don't have the 3-foot buffer. I'm not sure exactly when it was incorporated into the zoning code, but it is something that would be required for like new construction today.
All right, so I would just make a condition that the site plan be updated to remove the 3-foot dimension, so that we're not indicating that we're doing a 3-foot buffer, even though I don't think we could have been, regardless of what it was indicating. That, I'm glad to see that we have the space preserved behind the paved parking space, and that should go a long way to help mitigate the infiltration problems they have in that zone. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Mark?
Mark Bria has no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. Van?
Van Peck here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the applicant for the updates. I think to me it's a minor modification. It makes sense. I think it's actually a good addition to the site into the project. So I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Mr. Rodriguez, we do have the one condition requested by Mr. McCarthy. Are you in agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that being said, may I have a motion, Mr.
Again,
Clerk?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to pipe in again. I don't want to be nitpicky because I think this was the same thing that came up the last time. Maybe Jared has a little bit more guidance. I understand, not to say Francesca didn't understand or didn't know, but I think the inquiry the last time was, can we meet the threshold of a minor modification if we're implementing conditions on it? Is that a possibility?
Yes, it's not outside of ordinary to have the board add new conditions when there's a case of a minor modification or an extension to a previous approval.
Okay, no, I just want to double check and make sure, that's all. So
Thank you.
With that being said, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on 915 Pearl Street for minor modification with the condition that the applicant provide updated site plans showing the 3-foot buffer of the parking space between the building and the parking space.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second the motion.
Have a roll call, please.
Chairman Perrin,
Approve the condition.
Member Peck,
Approve the conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve of conditions.
Member McCarthy,
Approve with condition.
Member Briere.
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Rodriguez, you've been unanimously approved. We wish you continued success on this property. Thank you for
Thank you
calling
very
in
much.
this evening.
Appreciate it. Thank you
My
very much.
pleasure. Best of luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving forward on the minutes for approval, we have minutes for approval for May 28th, 2020. Any members have comments, revisions, edits? None being said, may I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the minutes for May 28th, 2020.
May I have a second?
Van Peck seconds the motion, Mr. Chairman.
May I have a roll call?
Chairman Perrin,
Acceptance of the minutes.
Member Peck,
Accept the minutes.
Member Callahan,
Approved minutes for May 28th, 2020.
Member McCarthy,
Approve the minutes from May 28th.
Member Briere.
Approval.
Being said, our minutes have been approved. We have no other items on the agenda. Any other comments or concerns by any members?
Mr. Chairman, I got one thing, one concern, maybe Jared can look into it just as a general inquiry. I know at the last meeting we had an extension of a variance. There was some questions about whether or not that extension could go forward because of various legalities. One thing that I discovered when I was kind of looking into it, the thought was in that last extension, I believe that was a second extension that we had granted to that particular variance on that particular piece of property. And when I looked into the law or the statute for variance approval, I discovered that we're only allowed to make extensions that do not exceed 6 months. And it doesn't say anything about multiple extensions. So I'm not sure, Jared, unless maybe you have some clarity to that. Are we allowed to make multiple extensions? And if so, shouldn't we not be going farther than 6 months out?
I think it's been past practice of the board to allow extensions. And if someone is able to return to the board and has good enough cause that they need another extension, the board determines that it's that they would like to allow them to have that extension, then that's possible because they've come back before the board again, and so It's not one continuous extension that is at that period.
Again, I'm just trying to check in and make sure. I don't want us to, on the last one, there was a second extension. Actually, I think he said previously we extended it for 1 year, but it looks like the statute says we're not allowed to do that. So I don't know.
I think there's various case
law
laws that happen around extensions and what is an appropriate extension.
Okay.
It's definitely a complex area for sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You know what? We'll wait till the next one to come up then and see maybe if we need to bring the law department in on that. I was just kind of curious as to how that would work. So, but that was the only concern I had. And I don't want to have to bring the law department in if it's not necessary, but well, I guess we'll wait till the next potential extension that may have this issue come up and talk it over then. So, all right. Thank you, Jared.
Thank
That's all
you,
I
Mr.
had.
Cal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or concerns by any other board members? That being said, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second.
Second motion?
Roll call.
Chairman Perrin?
Motion to adjourn.
Member Peck?
Approve motion to adjourn.
Member Callahan?
Approve adjournment.
Member McCarthy?
Approve motion to adjourn.
Member Briere?
Approval.
My apologies. I think that's the first time we've ever had a motion for adjournment. I got caught up, and I'll be much more comfortable when I get to see my colleagues in the council chambers. I want to continue to thank DPD and all the members and the petitioners and the citizens for working through these public hearings via phone, go to meeting, audio and live video on LTC. It's been a pleasure. The meeting is adjourned.